Hello and welcome to our skid steer training video. This is done by Brett, Scott, Jess, and Revoy. Today we're going to cover PPE or personal protective equipment, your walk around before operating your skid steer, engine check, entering the skid steer, basic controls, attaching implements, and proper parking and storage. So let's begin with PPE. There's no mandatory PPE when operating a skid steer. It is recommended that you use a reflective vest, a hard hat, and in this particular video we're going to be wearing safety glasses, CSA approved steel toes, and earplugs. First you'll begin by doing a walk around. When you begin your walk around, you will check for track condition and tension. Inspect the ground and check for fluid leaks. You'll check your hydraulic lines for leaks. Look for any damage on the skid steer. Inspect the cab screen. And when you're finished your walk around, you're good to go.
Next, we will go through the components of the engine found at the back of the skid steer. Here we have the diesel tank identified by its green cap. Above that is the air filter. Down below, the yellow oil fill cap. Regularly checking the oil is key. The dipstick can be found located at the top left of the engine. You will notice that the dipstick is incredibly long, and once you finally get to the end, check for clean oil to ensure engine health. And finally, at the bottom right corner, the battery.
When entering, keep a 3-point contact with handholds. Make sure the handhold is clean and hold it the entire time you are entering. First, make sure you put on your seatbelt, then pull down the safety bars in order to start the machine and shut the door. Here is the ignition location. Turn the key partially to warm up to proceed to start. In order to set the parking brake, push down on the pedal, then push the button to set in place. On the left is the drive stick. You can move it forward, back, left, and right. Underneath is the trigger for the throttle. On the right is the attachment controls, which tilt forward and back. Next is the attachment lock, which is a hydraulic pin that extends into the attachment. We have the gauges, which show the gas level, temperature, RPM levels, and hour meter. And finally, the lights.
This is the front of the skid steer, on which tools are attached. There are hydraulic pins on the bottom of this front panel that are used to lock on the desired attachment. When using attachments on the skid steer, such as the forks or the bucket, you first want to ensure that the implements are in good working condition. You should be checking for cracks and other imperfections that may cause unsafe working conditions or failure. When attaching an implement, for example the bucket, approach it slowly and carefully. You want to fixate on lining up the top of the grips in the skid steer with the top edge on the bucket. Once this has been done, slowly tilt the bucket towards the cab and extend the attachment lock using the button that was talked about earlier in the video. A skid steer is a very useful machine but can also become deadly when operated incorrectly. Some basic tips and tricks to operating a skid steer are as follows. Use caution and know your surroundings when traveling between destinations, and when traveling with an implement attached, use slow speeds. Approach the object you'll be lifting head on and try to line up the forks as close as you can with the underside of the object. When stacking objects using the forks, ensure they are evenly placed on top of each other whenever possible. Once lifted, you should keep the objects as low to the ground as possible to prevent tipping, but keeping enough room beneath for the variations in the ground. Always travel at slow speeds when lifting objects, and when necessary, use an additional set of eyes to help guide you. When parking the skid steer, it is best to park on level dry ground, which will allow you to see any potential leaks the next time you go to start it. Drop your hydraulic arms down as low as they can, and exit the vehicle using caution. In conclusion, we reviewed all aspects of the skid steer in our training video, including what personal protective equipment is needed or recommended, how to conduct a walk around, a few of the important components inside the engine bay, how to enter the skid steer, some of the controls on the interior, attaching implements, and some safe driving and storage practices. We hope you found this video informative, and thanks for watching.